All right. Hi, Moya. I'm glad
Hi,
you're
Abby.
hopping on today to chat. Thanks so much for making the time.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah, awesome. So, Moya, I want you to be able to share your experience in the program, answer some questions that I have for you and that most people have as they're considering hopping into a new journey. But before we dive into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, who you are, where you live, what you do, and let people get to know you a little bit.
Well, I am 52 years old. I'm recently moved. I recently moved, and so I'm kind of new to my area. I've been going through a lot of changes. So I've been going through a lot of changes lately, especially with myself. I'm perimenopausal, and that's been a really rough transition for me. I kind of like you hear everywhere. I gained all the weight. I had all the symptoms. Um, and I'm really grateful to say that I feel 100% in the opposite direction. So,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we'll get into that a little bit. But why don't we kind of trace back to start to like before you started the program, what kind of led you to be looking for some help in the first place? Like, where were you at? What were you experiencing? What was drawing you in about what I was doing here?
I was I was at definitely a low point, or a high point with my weight. It was a place I'd never been before. I've always naturally been a rather slender person, and over the past few years, weight gradually adds on. And suddenly I realized in January of this year, it's kind of out of control. When you're past the big things in your closet that don't fit you anymore. I was just internally, I was unhappy. Um, and I knew it was just kind of bleeding out everywhere. My husband was feeling it, my family was feeling it. And I needed to do something to change that. I knew the weight had to change for me. I didn't like being tired all the time. Having a hard time just like, realizing going up and down stairs. I have a lot of stairs in my new house. And I was like, if I'm going to be living here for another the rest of my life, I'm going to have to do something about being able to go up and down stairs. And so those are kind of some major components to it. I needed I needed somebody to help me kind of wake my brain up and say this isn't you, and you need to go back to finding yourself where you're happy. Um,
Yeah.
and it was definitely, it was more than the weight that was making me unhappy. There's something in me, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So you helped me find that. Help me
I'm
get
so
rid of that.
so proud of you in so many ways. But we'll dig into that a little bit. So you were feeling in your body like there's something else going on here. Like something else is off. Like I'm not feeling like myself. And I
Mhm.
know, from our conversations that you shared with me before you started, like the things you were doing before just like either weren't working or were just feeling like so unattractive to do. Like didn't have the energy to do that. Like tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about that. Like, you know,
Mhm.
how are you feeling that like you said you were slender for like most of your life, you were able to control your weight, and then to be at a point where you felt like I'm not in control anymore. The things that I know to do are not
Not
working.
working. So yeah, the things that I knew to do. I mean, I basic silly things, cut your carbs, basically cut out food. Just kind of stop eating. If you don't eat, then you're not going to gain weight and it's going to go away. And that didn't work. It makes you, miserable, and I'm unhappy. And I've got my family around me and they're happily eating away, and it's hard. And I didn't want to put myself in a place where I was giving everything up again and still not getting results. I gave, uh, I guess having so many, now I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah.
Um, um, I think the biggest part would just have been having all my thinking like I can't have it anymore. I can't have candy, or I can't have pizza, or I can't have this, or I can't have that. But I was also, and I kind of forgot to mention this at the time, I was starting to kind of begin to battle what I was wondering if it was like a gluten allergy. Like I heard about it, you hear about it all the time. Oh, gluten-free this and gluten-free that. and I like beer. I'm not going to lie about that. And I couldn't drink beer. It would hurt. It would physically hurt me. And the same thing was happening I was noticing with other things. I'm not a big, huge bread eater, but any other little things I was noticing, I'm like, I just can't physically have this. And I didn't understand why. And I didn't have the strength within me to just be like, I'm going to put it down and walk away from it and say no to it. But I think I've kind of reached a place where I don't have to, I'm not giving it up. I haven't given anything up. I've just changed the way I've gone about it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point, Moya. Is that like, you're noticing some things in your body, but you also like didn't feel like you had a plan to get there in a sustainable way. Like, do I have to give this up? Is this really a problem? And throughout the program, one of the things we do is like walk you through that of trying to figure out for your own individual body, not just like gluten's bad for everybody or this is bad for everybody, but walking you through what foods are really serving your body and which ones aren't. And if it's not, it doesn't mean you can never have it again, but you're able to make different choices because you have information and you're empowered, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's awesome. I love that you shared that. I know so many women come in, whether they come into the program to work with me or when we're having initial conversations about if this is a good fit. And, one of their big like pain points is like the things I used to do aren't working anymore. And that's something I hear so often in perimenopause is it's just like, we had our routines, we had the things that, you could, even if it wasn't unhealthy habit, like not eating, like there were things you could lean into and you knew was going to bring you a certain amount of results.
Yes.
And now we hit a point that wasn't happening. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was, not eating, just exercise a lot and you'd get to where you wanted to be.
Yeah. And so is that what you had to do in the program here? Did you have to exercise a lot and stop eating? Or tell us a little bit about like that shift in perspective about what could bring weight loss to your body?
I think one of the biggest shifts for me I noticed was when you showed me the difference in my eating after a couple of weeks. I was looking at the foods that I was eating in the beginning, and I don't think that they were necessarily horrible foods or anything was horrible for me, but the shift of the colors in my plate definitely changed. And it changed. I was so much happier and I was feeling so much better. Looking back at, I still go back and I look at some of those old pictures and I think, I'm like, okay, I feel, I thought that made me happy, but it wasn't making me happy. And I thought it was healthy too. And I realize now, the difference that I'm still getting the same thing and I'm not missing anything.
Yeah.
I don't miss anything.
That's awesome. So like people can hear like you're not like hungry, you're not craving crazy things and feel like you can never have anything, right?
No. No, in fact, even say on Easter was a good example that just passed a few weeks back. I was a little concerned about that. I thought, this is it. I'm going to be really going off the deep end. Abby, you really came to my rescue and let me know that like, everything I was feeling and every step I was taking for my plans on how to handle that weekend were exactly what I should have been doing. And what I found was that the choices I made, I chose to have a couple of jelly beans and I took them and I put them on my plate and I ate them one at a time. And I was like, absolutely happy with that. I was fine. I didn't feel like I needed to reach in and have the big handful and just mow them all down. It was kind of subtle little changes like that I was content and I was happy. And I know that I was much happier than if I would have taken the big handful.
Right. Like we weren't mindlessly doing things. We were mindfully doing them. And so it's not that we can't do it, but we did it in a mindful way. And we were able to like stop when we were actually satisfied with something, which is awesome. And then what was the result of that? I would love for you to share that. I don't know if you remember, because I can share if not. What happened after Easter? We were hyped up about like, is this going to like ruin progress, and what actually happened?
Actually, I ended up going into a whole new weight bracket low. So that Monday was really exciting. I was super happy. I couldn't believe it. I was, after leading up to it, just being scared and nervous that I was going to mess everything up. I had all this progress under my belt and had felt really comfortable. And then I was changing the venues. I was going away into a different place where I knew in the past I'd struggle with my eating choices. And then lo and behold, I checked the scale come Monday and it was all in my favor. And it just affirmed to me that I did make the right choices. I made smart choices and I made ones that work for me and work for my body. So that
Amazing. It's amazing.
Yes.
And that's part of this whole journey in this program of 12 weeks is that we go through holidays together, that we go through birthday parties or social gatherings or picnics together so that we can learn a new way. We can rewrite our mindset around food and dieting and weight loss and bad foods and good foods. And, see that not one day or one meal or one anything has to completely wreck or completely create our progress. So, tell me another thing with your mindset shifts along the way. Is anything stuck out to you as, something that you feel like you learned new about food or your body during this time?
I would say that, I have learned to kind of count the small things. Meaning when you look at a scale and you see that there's only a 0.2 difference. Those 0.2s add up and those 0.2s mean a lot. I look at it now and all those 0.2s over the course of 12 weeks ended up being over 20 pounds that I lost. And then when I think about that and I think about the 20 pound, I think about just 20 pounds. If I pick up a weight and I'm this is 5 pounds and I'm and I lost 4 more of these, this is crazy. That's a whole lot.
Yeah.
So, it's changed my mindset has become so much more positive, positive forward thinking. A lot of things that would kind of challenge me to stay in a good mood or stay happy. I don't have that challenge. That challenge has been removed. It's just kind of more of a constant, kind of a constant at peace, I guess. Because I just okay, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much power in those 0.2s of a loss that you shared. It's one of my favorite things when it really clicks with someone that we flip the script from I only lost 0.2 pounds to being excited about the 0.2s because you see how much they add up. I actually have your tracking sheet right in front of me right now. And this doesn't happen with every single person. Some people we have different learning curves, different fluctuations. One thing I can say about you, Moya, is that you're incredibly consistent with your meals, the way that you eat. And when you learn something works for you, you lean into it. You've been greatly coachable in that way. But looking at your weights from week to week, you actually continued to go down in a steady trajectory, week after week after week, even if it was by those small increments. But like you said, over the course of 12 weeks, that added up to be over 20 pounds.
20 pounds. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. So how do you feel over 20 pounds lighter? What do you notice a difference in? How are you feeling?
I notice it's funny when I look at myself, I have in my office, I have a full length mirror and I have a standing desk. So, when I catch myself out of the corner of my eye and I'm I don't look bad. I think I'm happy that I like how I look, or I catch myself walking in our front door. We have a Ring doorbell. And for whatever reason, if I go back and look at that and I see myself and I'm happy about it. Yeah. And I'm happy to see that, I feel I'm starting to see my old self again. And I will say when I do have bad days, I'll go back to January and remind myself that hey, you have come a long way. You just keep, you're not done yet. You're not at your goal. I'm not at my goal yet, but I'm so much closer than I was before. But it makes me feel so good and so proud of myself. I never really thought once I got into this, I was wait a minute, now it was becoming a big number to reach my goal. I was like, this is big.
Yeah.
And I realized I can do it. I can do hard
Amazing.
things.
Amazing. You can do hard things. And like, you should be so proud of yourself because you've made incredible progress. You know, when you first were getting into this and getting started, did you think it could be possible to lose like over 20 pounds in the 12 weeks from the place you were coming in at, feeling like stuck and
No,
confused and lost?
no, I didn't. Because honestly, I was so over flooded and overwhelmed with information. I know everybody, it doesn't matter, you know, where you're at, your walk of life, when you're kind of dealing with a weight loss issue, you're inundated with information. You know, in our world today, in our society, and with social media, you know, it's everything. You need to do this, you need to do that, you have to focus on this, it's this that's affecting you. And you know, well, you're perimenopausal, oh, you're menopausal, oh, you're this. There's so much information out there, and it just clogs your brain. And that was one of the things I was so grateful for with you, is that it's like you kind of I said going into this, I told you, I said, I'm going to wash that stuff out of my brain. I'm going to start from zero, and I'm going to listen to you, and I'm just going to listen to you. And I did. And I did clean off a lot of my social medias to try. And I mean, you can't help the ads, you get them no matter what,
Right.
but I did go through to help myself focus better on what you were trying to show me. And I think that helped me immensely. I needed that. I needed to, I guess, refocus a little bit, to get refocused,
Yeah.
And tone down the social media.
Absolutely. I love that point and that perspective, because at the end of the day, did it have to be as hard as you thought it had to be? Like,
No,
right?
it was
It's like,
not at all. You literally broke it down into like very simple, like simple buckets. Like, let's take care of this, let's get this fixed, and let's get it on track. And then we can you know, move on to the next thing and get that. But you know how to put those buckets in a row, so that we could get them each filled up properly.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, the truth is, it can be a simple process, but the problem is, because we're so inundated with information all the time, we're
Mhm.
always like course correcting before our
Yes.
body has a chance to actually like fix that one thing that we needed to stabilize, and then have it stack onto the next thing. Just like those 0.2 pounds add up,
Mhm.
our small shifts in behavior and our focused attention towards one thing that we want to improve at a time makes the biggest difference.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Amazing.
Yes.
So also for you, I know a lot of women come into the program or come in to work with me because they're really interested in getting hormone testing done,
Mhm.
because they've asked for it before and they haven't been able to get it, you know, from other doctors. Just the way our medical system
Mhm.
is today, it doesn't always go towards that preventative end of things and optimizing our health. You know, how did you feel being able to kind of get some answers about some things that were going on in your body, and like actually being able to have a plan of action to, you know, optimize or like correct imbalances for you?
Amazing. Honestly, absolutely amazing. Y- You nail it on the head with medical professionals, and I'm not trying to diss them or anything. Um, I feel like their focuses are something entirely different than what my focus is. And you know, I appreciate, you know, the part that they're covering, but my focus is more personal on what I need. And the testing helped answer a lot of questions, and it helped give me, I guess, like a sense of relief that whether it was good or bad, and whether you know, whatever that number was, that it gave me a baseline of where to start from, or gave you a baseline really to help me to figure out where to start from.
Yeah.
um because I that was just it. I mean, I didn't even have a baseline. I could guess, and I could assume or think, but that helped me, that helped me so much. And it was such a benefit, I can't even begin to say that, begin to explain it.
Yeah.
um So
That's
thank you
awesome.
very much for that.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad. And I mean, that's how can we improve what we can't measure? You know, the
Yeah.
same reason why like I use the scale as a tool when we're losing weight. Like if we can't measure our weight, like how are we going to know if we really want that number to go down, that it's going down, right? Same thing with these different hormones and imbalances in our body. If we can't measure them and we don't know where we're at, how can we work towards improving them or know what we need to improve, right? So it's been awesome to get to see those improvements in you, not only just on the scale, but, you know, from a symptom standpoint and just your energy levels and everything, how that's been coming together for you has been really awesome to see.
And I will throw out there, I love my scale now. I went and bought a new one because I was like, oh, I'm going to move up in the world. I'm getting a nicer scale because I love my scale. And now I've got this like fancy scale. It does all kinds of cool things and I love it.
That's so awesome. And, you know, like so many women come in being like afraid of the scale because, you know,
I was.
right? You were too. And when we feel like lost and confused and almost like wronged by our body, that we're like, why is it not responding? Like I'm putting in the work and it's not getting there. You know, we hide from the scale because we don't want that information anymore because we don't know a plan to, you know, be able to change the situation. But, you know, maybe share a little bit on that, how you've been able to like have a healthy relationship with the scale now because you had people to like be helping you process the feedback the scale was giving you and get it to go the right direction and learn to not carry all our emotional weight in the scale. So many women struggle with the scale.
Yeah. So, I mean, I will say in the beginning, just getting on the scale was like, all right, so I'm going to do it this Sunday. It's going to happen. I'll do it first thing in the morning as soon as I get out of bed. You know, it was a chore. It was going to set my tone for the day. It was going to set my mood for the day. And it's a hard mindset to get past. And I will say in the beginning, if you know, when you don't see movement or your movement is those 0.2s, you know, it's hard to see the positive part of that. But when you stick with it and you keep doing it, and then you start realizing, one, it's really definitely telling you what's going on with your body. Like it really makes me every time I step on the scale now, it makes me think, what was yesterday? What was I doing? Or even, you know, a couple of days ago, what was going on a couple of days ago? Is it something, you know, did I change something up? Did I do something different? That's what I really like about it, is that it's telling me what's going on with my body. And it tells me a lot of times when nothing's happening, if I'm just staying flatlining and nothing's changing, then I'm like, okay, then I think I need to do, you know, maybe I do need to switch something up. You know, just shuffle things around a little bit, shift, you know, make a shift, just try a change. You know, and it doesn't always have to be, I mean, honestly, for me, sometimes it's like, okay, I'd kind of cut out coffee, which was never a thing for me. Like I wasn't a coffee drinker to start with. Like I had coffee every day and I probably had way more than I ever needed. But it wasn't, I wasn't like the coffee addict, you know? But now it's like, I'll shake things up and be like, oh, I'll have a cup of coffee, you know?
Like now it's become like an exciting thing for you versus like something you were dependent on or like needed to have. I love that.
And I love being able to taste sugar.
I
love it. I taste sugar now because I don't eat it all the time now. Like I know I was before, but I mean, it's amazing when I eat a piece of fruit, I'm like, man, that was really good. Those blueberries were freaking awesome, you know? Whereas before it was just something, so it was like, I'm eating blueberries because I like blueberries, but now I taste them. I notice that I taste them. And it's the same thing with all the fruit. I taste the sweetness and it's so nice because I've never not given myself sweet whenever I wanted it.
I love that. Because you haven't had to like restrict or like, you know, say like, I'm never going to eat that. Like I'm going to try really hard and not eat that. But whenever, you know, we do this whole process and we kind of bring your body to the point when we go through a detox as part of the program, where you start to reintroduce things and taste them again for the first time. And you're kind of excited to taste them, and your
Yeah,
taste buds are like lit up, and they're like, oh, I
this
like
is
that. And you
good.
can kind of develop different flavors and appreciations
Mhm.
for food,
Yeah,
and for like processed sugar dessert when we're going to have it. We can
yeah.
totally have it, but we appreciate it in a different way
Hmm.
because we can taste it. Right.
Yeah. And it definitely, especially like with processed sugar, because I'd had on Easter weekend, it was also my husband's birthday, and had some like cupcakes I got from the grocery store. And it was crazy, just the sugar. It was like, holy cow, was it an overload of sugar? I had a ton of energy. Like it was
Yeah.
bizarre.
Isn't it crazy though, how immune we can become to
Hmm.
sugar, that we don't even realize how sweet something is. And then
Yeah.
when we have something after, we're being more mindful and like choosing where we want to eat sugar instead
Mhm.
of letting it be chosen for us by being
Yes.
laced in everything that we eat.
Yeah.
You're able to be like, wow, like that's like really sweet, almost sometimes like more sweet than I need it to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really cool to be able to develop a palate and to develop like you're really choosing when you're going to have it and being empowered in that choice. So I love
Yeah.
that for you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, one other thing I wanted to ask for you is like, what was the most helpful part of the program for you, or like your favorite part? What did you enjoy most?
Um, the support I loved, and I loved the support. I knew she'd make an appearance.
You had to.
um, but I love the weekly calls, because on the weekly calls, you really got to understand that. Well, what I really got to understand was you weren't this, there was nothing cookie cutter about what you're doing with me. What you were doing with me was because you thought about it and you asked me the right questions and you saw what I was doing and guided me to making the right decisions. Um, and I got that from those calls, and I really enjoyed them because, a lot of times there's other women, other ages, and I gained a lot from that, because sometimes they'd have questions that I had that I didn't realize I had, and they would
Right.
ask, and so it helped me really realize that there's nothing about this that was cookie cutter. You did this for me.
Yeah.
It was my program.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I don't know, in a weird way, it wasn't Abby's program.
That's
It was
exactly it.
Abby's
That's
idea,
right.
but it was
Yeah.
my program for me.
Yeah. Oh, I so love how you worded that, Moya, because that's my goal for everybody is that like, why diets fail is because like, oh, well, we were following keto, or we were following intermittent fasting, or we were following X, Y, or Z
Mhm.
program, and we're trying to make our life fit into that program. But what
Mhm.
we do here is we're creating a program for you, for your
Yeah.
life, like, what you enjoy, what foods you tend to eat, what your social life looks like if you eat in home or you eat out. And whenever we do that, and we're building a plan around you instead of trying to fit you in a plan, well, now
Mhm.
like day 91 is no different than day 90, because we built this around you and your life instead of being
Mhm.
like, oh, it started and stopped, right? I was
Yeah.
trying to force myself to follow something that wasn't at all
For me.
sustainable for me and my lifestyle or my preferences or my
Yeah.
body, my body needed,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Amazing. Oh,
Yes.
thanks so much for sharing that. Um, so last kind of question I have for you, or
Mhm.
really like kind of twofold. One is, obviously to, work with us at this capacity and do the testing and go through the program and have all the calls and do all these things, have the daily support, like that was a big investment for you. And
Mhm.
whenever women are stepping into like deciding if they want to invest in themselves, whether it's a mom or women in general, we often
Mhm.
struggle spending money on ourselves. Like we'll spend
Yes.
money to like do something for other people, but just like most of us, how we're designed is like we struggle with doing that for ourselves. So
Mhm.
maybe share a little bit about like, were you nervous to make an investment in yourself? And, what was coming up for you at that time?
Well, for me personally, I was ready to make the investment. 100%. I was. committed to it, I knew I knew I wanted this. I knew that I had to have this. And I knew also that I could nickel and dime myself throughout the rest of the year and probably never get there. And I think that's the biggest part, is that I would just nickel and dime myself, for 3 weeks here and then be like, you know what, it's not working, nothing's happening. So let me move on to this. And the next thing's going to be bigger and better. And I think that's the biggest part of it, is I'd rather make the investment. It's easier, just make the investment in yourself. And once you do that, you're going to follow through with it. You want to follow through. It makes you want to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm happy that I am.
You are so successful, and I'm so happy that you did this. But you're 100% right. It takes investing in ourselves to really also take ourselves seriously, and to like go all in, and to get the level of support and guidance that you want. Like, in some ways, we get what we pay for, right?
Yeah. Well,
like
honestly,
we didn't
that's
show up
it.
because we like barely paid for anything, or, like we barely pay for anything. And like, of course, we're not going to have support. It's going to be more of like a do-it-yourself experience. Right. So, I love how you shared that. So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, last question then to wrap this up would be,
sure.
What would you tell someone who's considering joining, that they're not sure, afraid to get started, and just like making change, and change is scary? What would you tell that woman who needs this, but she's afraid to get started?
I would say you're going to have to invest in yourself. That's the bottom line. You're going to invest in everything else in your life. But you're never going to get your own happiness. And unless you get your own happiness, nobody else around you is going to be happy. And until you find that place yourself where you can sit down and you can have dinner with your family and enjoy it with them, but also know that you're sitting there and you're happy with yourself. You're happy with your own decisions. You're never gonna, you just have to find that happiness in yourself. And the only way you're going to do it is by investing in yourself.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I can say.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Great advice. I appreciate you so much. I'm so proud of you. You've been absolutely amazing to work with, Moya, not only just in like your attitude and your positivity, but just in your full, like, I don't want to say submission to me, but like submission to like, I am here to learn and grow, and like just to truly break up with dieting. Like, I'm not doing this anymore.
In no way do I feel like I've been dieting.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's awesome.
At all.
Oh.
I don't. I mean, I get more concerned that I don't have like my, the right foods.
Like, where's my vegetables?
Right, exactly.
I know. Oh, that makes me so happy, because I believe every woman deserves to be able to like eat and enjoy food, and not be so worried about like good foods and bad foods and what this is going to do for me in a day. But to truly be empowered around food and their health, to understand what's going on in their body, to understand what foods do what for their body, and that food becomes tied to so much more than weight loss.
Yes, it does. It really does. And I mean, the different things that you've had me, help me focus on and help me look at, it really goes to show, food is, obviously is a major factor in this. There's so much more. There's hydrating yourself, there's sleeping, there's just all these different things that have to come together, and you help tie those focuses in and make you look at them and realize I'm getting what I need now. And I feel good about it. It feels good to be able to, be in a good mood, to be happy. And I'll be honest, when you're perimenopausal, that's not often. It's really hard to be happy because just your whole body, everything is just gone haywire completely. And you have no control over anything. You don't, it's like you don't control your own thoughts. You don't control your own moods. You don't control your own body temperature. You know, there's just so many different things that you have no control over. And then you throw the weight on top of it that you just can't get rid of. So it feels good to just feel good, to wake up feeling good and not, I don't wake up thinking I've got to lose weight today. I wake up and I'm like, yay, another 0.2. But I don't wake up with all those stresses on me. And definitely, I will throw a little side note. Many of my perimenopausal symptoms have just disappeared. They're pretty much gone. And I'm so happy. So happy.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, Moya. You know, I'm always here to support you, and I'm just so excited to watch you continue to flourish and to be part of our community, because you're always with us. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for everybody for tuning in. And if you have any questions, I'm here. I would love for you to talk with me or my team just about how you can get started on a journey of your own and really break up with dieting and make peace with food and learn how to nourish and serve your body in a way that promotes weight loss for the rest of your life. So thanks for tuning in. Bye, Moya.
Bye.